Lesson 3.2, Buying a Home. So you may decide renting is not for you. Another option is to buy your own home. This lesson will look at the process of choosing and purchasing a home. So the first thing we're going to look at is borrowing cash. Because most people don't have enough cash on hand to purchase a house without borrowing money. We have already talked about the cost of borrowing money and the different ways to do that. This section will focus specifically on borrowing money through a mortgage, which is borrowing money to purchase property. So a question I want you to think about is, have you ever loaned something to a friend? So some examples might be some money, a laptop, a game, a movie, anything like that. So what I want you to think about is, how can you be sure that you'll be repaid? So obviously we have trust in our friends, but what if it's someone that you're not as close with that maybe wants to borrow something? What factors might you consider when loaning a friend something? So I really want you to think about, if someone asks you if they can borrow something, what are some things that you think about before you decide whether you're going to say yes or no? So some things I might think about would be, have I loaned them something before and have they returned it? Has it been returned in good condition? What assurance do I have that they're going to pay that back? Things like that. So read the following scenario. 3 friends are at a shopping mall for Joe's birthday. Sean, Rachel, and Hayden all want to get him what he really wants, but there's a snag in the plan when 2 of the 3 friends come up short on cash. After reading each of the friends' stories below, decide who Sean should loan his money to and why. So first we're going to read about Sean. Sean is the lender. He's the guy going to loan the money. Sean works after school and on weekends, so he usually has money in his wallet. He wants to get Joe a new portable game console, which he can easily afford. His friends are always borrowing money from him because they know he saves, and today is no different. So that's Sean. Let's look at Rachel and Hayden, who both want to borrow money. So Rachel sees the perfect gift for Joe, but she only has $20 and the gift costs $100. She tries to convince Sean to loan her the money for the gift, explaining that she only needs $80 because she can contribute $20 herself. She reminds Sean that she has borrowed money from him before and always pays debts back on time. As an added bonus, she tells Sean he can borrow her car and her tablet in case she isn't able to pay the money back right away. So that's Rachel. What about Hayden? Hayden wants to buy a new video game for Joe, but he doesn't have the money right now. He borrows money from his friends all the time, and he has a reputation of being late in paying back. Sometimes he forgets entirely. He tries to convince Sean to loan him $100 for the gift. So in your opinion, who do you think would be the better borrower and why? So I want you to take a minute, in your opinion, jot down who you would rather lend the money to and why you would do that. Okay, so we're going to discuss this answer in a minute, but before we do that, we're going to look at some definitions and terms. So the first term I want you to look at is collateral, and that's security given for the payment of a loan. So in the example of buying a house, the collateral would be the house itself. So what it means by security given is, if you loan someone money, the collateral would be something that they can come and take from you if you don't pay back the money. So if you're borrowing a car, the collateral would be the car, and if you don't pay, the loan, they can come and repossess the car, for example. Investment. Investment of money to gain profitable returns. So anytime we put money into something, it's an investment. A securitized loan. So a securitized loan is a loan that is protected by security or collateral to ensure loan repayment. So if you are loaning the money and you have something that you can guarantee you will get your money back, whether it's from the repayment of the loan or from taking that collateral in place of the repayment, then it's a securitized loan. A down payment is the amount of money paid up front at the time of the purchase. So if you're trying to buy something that's $1,000 and you can pay $100 cash yourself, so you only need to borrow $900, that $100 is considered a down payment. Credit. An agreement by which a borrower receives something of value now and agrees to pay the lender at a later date. And often we talk about if someone has good credit or bad credit. So credit just means that they're receiving something now, they're going to pay it back later. If you have good credit, it means every time you've gotten credit in the past, you've paid it back promptly. If you have bad credit, it means maybe you didn't pay that money back as quickly as the lender would have liked. So we're going to use those terms in the following, and we're going to look at a possible answer for that following activity, that scenario with Rachel and Hayden. So this is one possible answer for that activity, and we're going to try to fill in the blanks using those terms we just talked about. Okay, so Rachel is a better choice to lend money because she has blank, so which is the car and the tablet. So what does she have, or what is she using the car and the tablet as? That's one of those terms that we just looked at. So she's using the car and her tablet as collateral. So Rachel is the better choice to lend the money because she has collateral, meaning that if she can't pay back the money, the blank of the lender is secured. So the investment of the lender is secured, because these items are worth equal or more than the value lent. This is also called so what kind of loan is it when you have collateral there to back up your loan? It's a securitized loan. The lender is in a secure agreement with the borrower because there is a guarantee the lender will get his money back either through repayment or through the objects used as collateral. Rachel also provides a blank for the purchase. So she provides so we're talking about that $20 that she said she had, and that can be considered a down payment for the purchase, decreasing the amount she has to borrow from Sean. This means she will have less money to pay off, so she doesn't have to pay back the full 100. She only has to pay back 80, and therefore is less of a risk. Finally, we can be fairly certain that she will repay the money because of her history with borrowing money. So she reminded Sean that she's borrowed money from him before and she always pays it back. This means she has good credit. Okay, so that's only one possible answer from the scenario problem earlier, but it uses all those terms we've looked at and hopefully gives you a better understanding of what each of those terms means. So when someone wants to borrow money to purchase a home, that loan is called a mortgage. Here are just a few facts about mortgages. Most people make a monthly mortgage payment. Some people may make different frequency payments, maybe bi-weekly or weekly, but most commonly a mortgage payment is monthly. A mortgage is a lot different than a smaller loan because it can take quite a few years to pay it off. So some examples are 20 and 30-year mortgages. Banks will charge interest on the money borrowed, so we've already talked about that. And most banks require a down payment before a loan is issued. So the down payment can vary depending on the type of property purchased and the situation you're in, but a very common down payment is 20% of the cost of the home. So whatever the house costs that you want to buy or the property costs that you want to buy, it's very common for a bank to expect you to pay 20% of that cash, and they will cover the other 80%. So we're going to try where we calculate the down payment for each of the following mortgages. So we're going to assume the down payment is 20%. So what we have to do is calculate 20% of each of these values. So the first one is a $350,000 home. So to figure out 20% of that, we multiply it by 0.20, and the down payment on that home would be $70,000. If the home was $120,000, the down payment we're assuming is 20%, so we multiply that by 0.20. And the down payment on a $120,000 home would be $24,000. In C, the home costs $200,000, so a down payment would be $40,000. And in D, the home or property costs $150,000, so the down payment will be $30,000. So all of these are assuming that it's a 20% down payment. If the down payment was different, those percentages that we're multiplying by, so that 0.20 would change. So a higher percentage would yield a higher down payment, and a lower percentage would yield a lower down payment. Okay, so now that we've looked at borrowing money, let's actually look at buying the home. So when looking to buy a home, it's important that you know what you want. It is also important to know which of these things are wants and which are must-haves. So for example, when you're going to look at homes, you know what you're looking for. You're not just walking in blind and saying, oh, that's cool or that's cool. You have an idea of what you're looking for. But you know, out of all those things you're looking for, which are deal breakers. If it's not there, you can't buy the home, and which are things that it would be nice to have, but it's not the end of the world. So keeping a checklist of these things is a great way to keep track when looking at homes. The activity I'm going to get you guys to do is to think about the things that are important to you when buying your first home. So this is going to be different for everybody. You might think about location, the size of the home, the color of maybe the walls or the exterior, features, for example, bathrooms, rec room, garages, things like that. You're going to list those things on the table, and you're going to list them under either wants or needs. So I'm going to do an example, and then you can do your own. So for example, something that you may want is a 4-bedroom home. Maybe you want a really big home. You plan in the future having a big family. But that's a want. You would like a 4-bedroom home, but then you think more realistically at what you would need, and maybe your need is only a 2-bedroom home. So you can have kind of conflicting features in each side of the table, so that when you're looking at a home and you're like, oh, it's a 2-bedroom home, well, it meets my needs. And then you look at another home that's a 4-bedroom home, well, that meets my needs because it has the 2 bedrooms, but it also meets my wants, and it kind of gives it a leg up. So some other wants might include maybe a garage, a basement, to be on a quiet street, maybe a paved driveway. So those would be some examples of wants. And for you, they may be needs. Maybe a garage is a must-have, or a paved driveway. So some needs might include a large yard, a safe neighborhood, maybe 2 bathrooms, something like that. So like I said, this is going to be your own opinion. This is your wants and your needs depending on your interests and your likes. So take a second and fill in that table and see how you do. Okay, and we have one last activity here. We're going to use a mortgage calculator to help us determine what some of these mortgages are actually costing us. So we're buying a home that's $275,000. We're going to have a 20% down payment, which I've calculated for you. It's $55,000. So what we're going to do for each of the mortgages below, we're going to determine the monthly mortgage payment. So what are we paying each month as a mortgage payment? And then what is the total cost? So what is the cost of the home plus the interest? So what I'm going to get you to use is to calculate your mortgage payments. You're going to use this mortgage calculator. So you're going to follow this link and use this mortgage calculator. So remember that the mortgage term is the amount of time it will take to pay off the mortgage. The interest rate is the amount the bank will charge for loaning you the money. So for example, the first one is a 15-year mortgage at a 3% interest rate. And they want to know the total amount paid, so the repaying amount you borrowed plus the interest, and the minimum monthly payment. So I'm going to do this example for you just to show you how to use the mortgage calculator, and then I'll get you to try the other two on your own. Okay, so what you see here is the mortgage calculator from the Practical Money Skills website. So we have to fill in a little bit of information first. So the total amount of the loan. So even though the house cost $275,000, we noted that there was a $55,000 down payment. If you subtract those numbers, you can tell that you only need to borrow $220,000. That's the amount of the loan that would go in that field. For Part A, the interest rate of the loan is 3%. So it doesn't tell us the monthly payment, but luckily it says enter only one of the fields below. So we do know the number of months. It says it's a 15-year loan. So we can't put in 15. We have to put in the number of months. So we would do 15 times 12, which is 180 months. So we've entered in the loan amount. We've taken into consideration that $55,000 down payment, the percentage, and the length of the loan, and we hit calculate. And if we scroll down, we can see our results. So let's have a look at all the different results that are here. So the minimum monthly payment is right here. So if I were to ask you what the minimum monthly payment was, it's $1,519.28. And that would pay it off in 180 months. The total financial charge, or the amount of interest you would pay, is $53,470.33. So if we put in the loan for $220,000 plus the interest, this would be the total amount paid, the total cost of the loan, $273,470.33. And at the bottom here, what we actually see, if you remember back to when we talked about borrowing money, is that amortization table. So if you remember, we looked at these, and it tells us the payment, how much of the payment is going on the principal, how much of the payment is going on the interest. and then what's
and then
left
what's left at the end of that
payment
or that month.
and then we go to
And
the
then we
next
go to the next month and so on and so forth.
So this is
So this is
a version of
a
that
version of that
amortization table
that we looked at
back
in chapter 2 on
borrowing
borrowing money.
We can see in
We can see in the 180th payment
at the end
there is
$0
remaining on that loan.
Okay, so knowing that, we can use that mortgage calculator, and we found out that for this particular mortgage, the 15-year mortgage at 3%, the total amount paid over the loan term was $273,470.33. And the minimum monthly payment that calculator gave us was $1,519.28. So now you guys can go and click on that link and check out that website and try B. So you're still going to put in that same amount for amount borrowed, which we said was $220,000 once we subtract the down payment from the purchase price. You're going to put in 6% as your interest rate, and then for your number of months, you'll do 20 years times 12, because 12 months a year, for 240 months. So take a second and try that. Okay, so hopefully you got all that inputted and you were able to read your results to see that the total amount paid in this case for that same house is $378,275.60. So you're paying a little bit more, which makes sense. You're taking longer to pay it off, and it's a higher interest rate. So it would make sense that it would cost you a little bit more in interest. And your monthly minimum payment is $1,576.15, which is very similar to the monthly payment in Part A. So the monthly payment hasn't changed a whole lot, but because you're paying it over 20 years instead of 15, the total amount that you're paying has increased by quite a bit. So now try the third option, so the 30-year mortgage with a 5% interest rate, and see how you do. Okay, so this one, if you look, the total amount paid is much higher than the other two. The interest rate's gone down a little bit from the last time, but it's still higher than the first, and the amount of time that you've taken that mortgage out is much longer. So this time you would end up paying $425,162.73. But the loan payment is about $400 cheaper than it has been in A and B at $1,181.01. So when I ask you which mortgage would you choose, you have to really think about it. So for example, in Part A, you have you're paying the least in the long run. So you're only paying about $274,000 all said and done. But in Part C, you're paying a much lower monthly payment. So you have to think of your current situation. Can you afford the higher monthly payment to get that paid off quicker and not pay as much interest? Or is that $1,180 a little bit of a more reasonable monthly payment, and you'll take the hit and pay a little bit more because you're making so many more monthly payments? So that would be a decision that you would have to make. In my opinion, B isn't a great option because it's still that very high monthly payment, like in option A, but because you're paying it for longer, you're paying way, way, way more money. Okay, so now I just want you to take out the worksheet on buy it or pass. So you're going to read each of those examples. You're going to learn everything that you're going to take everything that you've learned in this lesson and decide for each house or each property whether you would buy it or you would pass on it.